How do you achieve world domination? I started researching. What I unearthed was shocking.
Got permission after days and days of back and forth talking about security issues. But they have finally let us down here because they're keen to show that despite the fact that Israel says that they've destroyed over 60 miles of these tunnels, that they're still going strong. They are rebuilding their tunnels. They're still got an extensive network that they can use to move people around and to store weaponry.
In war, soldiers are avoiding drone strikes and UAV in crafty ways. Architects and militants are teaming up. Morning till night, the grind never stops. How many ways can tunnels be used for your own safety? If you own adjoining houses, you have the potential to save your life. Suppose you're a criminal and the entire SWAT team starts attacking your door frame. You hear a loud bang. You immediately pull a latch under your carpet. You enter a secret tunnel connecting your house to an adjoining house nearby. This gave you enough time to hop into a car parked in front of the other house and drive away. You just avoided being killed or arrested. Let's pretend you're a smuggler and you had a tunnel connecting two warehouses. One's located in Mexico and another in California. Business would be booming and you'd be eating good. More things can go wrong if your mules interact with border officials compared to walking through a secret border tunnel.
Whoa. These are different rounds of ammunition, different calibers as well as magazines. This is surprising, especially since they're loose. This is going to be a good bust.
In Mexico, the police found 7 houses connected through one underground tunnel system. The black market is dominated by organizations from Mexico because it's in proximity to the US border. Include bribery in the mix, and tunnels become an unstoppable force. Tunnels hold the power to give families a better opportunity. Think illegal immigration. You'd become a hero, beloved among the people for changing their lives. Let's take a look at doomsday preppers.
Well, that's a 15-inch. That's really small. Heidi, you think you can fit in that?
No.
No. Yeah, if you can't fit, there's no way we can fit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, we're gonna have to go to the bigger pipe. All right. Well, we need to see if we can crawl through there.
Yeah.
Be my guest.
All right.
They're using tunnels as well. Is all of this legal? To make a long story short, no. It's because you're abusing mineral, water, and air rights of other people's property. Today we're looking at how to build a DIY subterranean tunnel. You may be wondering, what's the appropriate depth? Years ago, the news reported a high-profile drug lord successfully escaping prison through a 70-foot deep tunnel beneath their prison cell. The tunnel led to a warehouse 2 kilometers away from the prison. What can we learn from this? If we copy what they did, 70 feet or lower would be a safe distance to dig downwards. Make it very deep to avoid detection from ground penetrating radar. All the best tunnels are at minimum 6.5 feet high. Why? Because most people aren't crouching while walking. How you use the tunnel is your choice. To spice things up, you want to have a motorcycle in the tunnel. The wider the tunnel, the more risk the tunnel will collapse. 3 feet is a reasonable width to fit a motorcycle. 7 feet by 3 feet should be the height and width of your tunnel respectively. The length depends on your tunnel's purpose. The entrance to your tunnel shouldn't be too small. On the surface, you want the entrance to be so well camouflaged that even someone with astute observational skills would doubt the existence of a hidden door. How about if authorities do an inspection of the property? If it's inside a house, take a carpet and roll it over top the door. If the entrance is in a warehouse, have loaded skids and a pallet jack near the entrance. Have someone move a skid above the trap door so nothing looks suspicious. Buy second-hand equipment to reduce expenses. Better yet, leverage credit. Banks give lines of credit for equipment leasing. Also look into hard money lenders for equipment leasing. Avoid being irresponsible. What safety hazards might you expect? You need a hard hat, safety goggles, and safety boots to avoid accidents. Your helmet should have a light attached to it so you can see in the dark. Watch out for silicosis. Silica is the second most common element in the Earth's crust. When rock is cut, the dust gets in lungs and causes disease. Long-term exposure to airborne dust encourages many chronic health issues. How do we deal with this problem? Personal protective equipment, or PPE, prevents dust from getting in the lungs. The right equipment for this job is respirators. Not all respirators are made equal. Different masks filter different aerosols. Do your own research when shopping. Educate your employees on how to deal with dusty situations and how to be safe while working. Purchase oxygen tanks for worst-case scenarios. Furthermore, you need hearing protection. Jackhammers are extremely noisy. If you aren't using protection, you'll suffer from noise-induced hearing loss. The noise from a jackhammer can reach as high as 130 decibels, which is 45 decibels above the maximum acceptable noise exposure level. Jackhammers are the most commonly used tool for creating secret tunnels. Several variables must be considered when buying a jackhammer. You need to be mindful of noise so as to be undetectable. In the animal kingdom, danger is sensed through loud noise. The same goes for humans. Whenever we hear a loud noise, our curiosity always gets the best of us. These are all primal evolutionary traits. You want a stealthy jackhammer. The quietest are powered by electric motors. Use an electric jackhammer when you're around ground level. Quieter models can shave roughly 10 decibels off the noise level. A 10 decibel reduction surprisingly cuts the noise down in half. If your hole is deep enough, nobody should be able to hear you. Use a hydraulic jackhammer only once you've gotten to the deepest part of your tunnel. You want a jackhammer that is powerful and isn't too heavy to carry. You also want a hydraulic splitter. Bring shovels, pickaxes, hammers, nails, and so forth. You need stability inside the tunnel. This is done by installing framing within the tunnel. The materials needed for framing are going to be square steel bars, rebar, wall braces, sheet metal, wood, steel mesh. Cement is needed to stick tiles and walls to the rock. A circular saw is needed to cut materials. To fuse metal together, welding equipment is used. Weld everything above ground to avoid fumes circulating underground. To cut sheet metal, you'll be using a plasma cutter. A good idea is to have a slip roller. These can curve sheet metal. Normally, people don't walk through darkness, so bring lights to hang up in the tunnel. Have portable fans on each person so nobody gets heat exhaustion. It's extremely hot and humid underground. Find a GPS signal above ground wherever you start the tunnel, so you can work out the angle that you need to dig accurately. You need to buy something called a laser level, which has a laser pointer on it. How can we extend GPS coverage underground? To tackle this issue, we have to utilize outer space. Offer to pay a company that provides services for GNSS simulations and leaky coverage feeders. How it works is you wear a portable receiver that picks up a cellular signal. This signal comes from cables that have holes in them that leak the signal underground. This also allows you to use cell phones underground. Get walkie-talkies so your team can communicate underground without cellular signals. There's going to be an extreme amount of dirt involved. You need to dispose the dirt regularly. This is a time-consuming process. If you can utilize machines that will transport the dirt, it will save you a lot of time. One idea is building a mine cart and then installing rails which you screw onto the floor. Your team can then push the mine cart further distances in shorter durations. You're going to need bags to put the dirt into. If one bag of rocks from the dig weighs 100 pounds and you do 60 bags daily, it means you have 3 tons of rubble to deal with every day. In order to not arouse suspicions, you need to move dirt outside at strategic times in small amounts that are concealed. You want a pickup truck or work van to offload these bags. Do this during the early hours of the morning, like 3 to 4 a.m. Commission a shady contractor who is willing to break the law. You need a team with knowledge of digging. Ideally, you want actual criminals to work for you since they won't snitch. If you pay well enough, almost anyone can be bought off. Randoms will most likely snitch, so don't even bother looking for international students on Kijiji. You need a security team watching over your secret passageway. First, we mark the entrance. This is where we cut. I recommend the entrance be rectangular instead of a circle. Measure dimensions wide enough to transport wall braces into the tunnel. Install these within the interior of the passage to create the frame. Construct framing for the entrance with welding equipment. Use a circular saw to cut the border of the shapes that you want the entrance to be. Next, jackhammer within the borders. Install the framing where you just dug. Finally, install the door and handle. Now you have a door which can open and close. Digging is very much like sculpture but inverted. Removal of soil is what the structure eventually becomes. You want to dig both horizontally and vertically. Descend on a slope instead of digging directly downwards. The benefit of a slope is that you can dig the shape of stairs into the tunnel. It's less expensive to fetch out soil this way, because a vertical hoist system isn't required. You want to start by digging a hole downwards. Keep shoveling until you're standing in a cube that's around 6 feet deep. Take your jackhammer and focus your attention on digging downwards in the direction you want the tunnel to go in. Keep digging down until you're in a region that's deeper than the region you initially dug. As you stand in the deepest regions being dug out, you want to concentrate on digging horizontally and then downwards in a repeating cycle. You should notice the shape of stairs starting to form behind you as you progress. Once you're 70 feet deep and the staircase has been established, it's time to progress horizontally. As you go deeper, things get more difficult because of the changes in soil composition. Sometimes the soil is going to be very wet, and sometimes it's going to be solid rock. As a rule of thumb, top layers are generally clay. Below the clay is soft stone, and then below this is hard stone. When thousands of pounds of pressure come crashing down and a tunnel collapses within itself, it's called a cave-in. How do you avoid being buried alive? You need to install wall braces that push up against the radius of the tunnel. This is going to be the framing of the tunnel. You want to weld steel bars together and make a rectangular frame that will then be nailed into the rock around you. Use hanging bolts as well. Make sure framing is leveled so the top of your tunnel has its weight distributed evenly across the beams. Framing needs to be installed overhead and on the sides for more strength. If you're doing everything properly, the tunnel won't collapse. Put up walls with sheet metal for stability. Walls are going to make your project feel more like a proper tunnel. You want to pour concrete between the stone and walls. Have steel mesh between them so it prevents the concrete from overflowing when it dries. Make sure not to dig through any sewer pipes. Work around them as you descend. Needless to say, the tunnel likely won't flood, since both entrances are indoor and away from the rain. Be mindful there's going to be cockroaches and other organisms underground. Make sure you wear long pants, high boots, long sleeves, and look into insect repellent. Repeat this process of digging and framing until you reach where you need to dig upwards. GNSS and the laser level should determine where you need to be exactly. Next, relocate diggers to the other entrance above ground. Dig up the concrete where the other entrance is located. Drill through the soil above ground to indicate where the center of the entrance should be. When they see the drill bit, your underground team will know where to start digging upwards. Repeat the same process from the beginning and install your second entrance. Complete all these steps and you should have a secret tunnel that you can rely on. When you violate someone's mineral rights, you face trespassing charges and fines for the minerals ejected from that land. If violators don't have consent, or if your interference wasn't a mistake, the property owners will likely sue in order to eject you from the property. Bring a metal detector with you, and you may be able to find gold and other minerals. In conclusion, there's so many benefits to utilizing secret tunnels. If you don't get caught, you'll be the one laughing. The only people who will know your secret will be your team and God.